So welcome to Because It Matters 24/7, where roundtable discussions and listening circles connect our viewers to critical and courageous conversations. I'm Yaya Whaley, here to help moderate a conversation with some key Middletown community members. And so we're excited to be joined today by 5 very special guests and Middletown community members to explore the topic of community reform. And so starting with our youth, since our youth will lead us into the future, we have Dejanay Montague Carter, who is a rising senior at Middletown High School and aspiring lawyer. We have actually a senior with us, Quadir Fox, give us a wave, aspiring future Navy man. And he's in the class of 2020, so he's a current senior at Middletown High School. We have the honor of being joined by Mr. Freddie Williams, or Fox as the community knows him, local Black business owner, entrepreneur, MBK mentor, and a strong advocate for all things Middletown. And the one and only Pastor John C. Williams. He's a pastor, a parent, and a proactive community activist in the Middletown community. And we are so thrilled that the stars aligned for Chief Johnny Wanchu of the local Middletown PD joining us today for this first roundtable discussion. So welcome everyone. And we are going to kick off this virtual conversation. With all that's going on in the world, I actually wanted to put us all in the same mind frame about the importance of this conversation by leading us off with a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, "One of the greatest liabilities of history is that all too many people fail to remain awake through great periods of social change. Every society has its protectors of status quo and its fraternities of the indifferent, who are notorious for sleeping through revolutions. Today, our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change." And when I saw that quote, I thought it was quite apropos to discuss community reform today, because we are facing right now the challenge of change. And so to kick us off, we're gonna start with the youth. What does community mean to you?
Me, community means a bunch of people who comes together and tries to help each other out. Like, they have the same goal, they all try to help each other achieve their goal. Ways, it could be someone has a business and everybody goes to that business and helps them. Like, so everybody just comes together to help each other out.
Common goal. I always have the saying of when it comes to my business, one team, one dream. It's all about doing things together, respecting each other, respecting each other's opinions, respecting each other's lifestyles. Respect really comes to mind when I think about community, because you can only walk together as one, So community to me means, businesses, sports, it means everything. I grew up in Middletown. I'm a lifetime resident. So community, it registers me highly.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for putting this together, and I'd like to thank all the other panelists. I think it's a great opportunity for us to have some positive discussion on how to move forward. There's an old saying that it takes a village to raise a child, and I think that kind of relates back to community as a whole. We have to work together towards common goals, respect each other, have common visions. And then in my role as police chief, when you ask me what community means to me, it's the people I serve. It's the people that my department serves, that we go out day in and day out and do what we can to make it a better community, to ensure the safety and security of all of our residents.
And so this next question will be interesting to see how much similarity we have, all representing different components of the Middletown community, around priorities. What are 2 priorities you believe our community should rally behind?
I feel as if, as a teenager that, attends Middletown High School, lives in Middletown, and is also a female of color, I feel like, consistency and accountability to me, I feel like is 2 important, aspects of community reform. as one when it comes to accountability. As a community, I feel like, there is right that we do and there also is wrong at times. And I feel like on our end that, that should be acknowledged, that not all the time it's necessarily, that we're doing the right thing or we're doing the wrong thing. Sometimes things happen.
I don't want to say the same stuff, but I think respect is very, very important on both ends. Police officers have to respect the people that they interact with, whether they agree or disagree with what's going on. They have to remain neutral at all times and be understanding. And just to go into this a little bit, this isn't something that we in the Middletown Police Department have just started working on. This is something we've implemented over the last couple of years in a training program where we're trying to teach respect, both to earn it, to show it, and I think it's been very valuable, and I hope that the community agrees that they see a difference in our community by giving the education to our department, to teach them to be more respectful, to teach them to listen to the voices of the people we interact with. I think it's very, very important. We've invested a lot into our department as far as training, and one of the primary goals of that was respect. We've introduced a program 2 years ago called Procedural Justice, and it has 4 basic principles. And the second principle is respect, not only to show respect, but to have respect shown back to us as well. So I can't say really enough about that. And then the second one I would say is understanding. I think sometimes people lose sight in the fact that police have a job to do. By no means do I think what happened in Minneapolis is acceptable. It's a disgrace on so many levels, and it has hurt us as a profession on so many levels. It's going to be very difficult for us to overcome that as a police profession. But at the end of the day, we have a job to do, and I think we, as police department officials, police officers, we need to better communicate with the community to let them understand why we do what we do when we do what we do.
2 priorities: we give respect and we demand respect. There's got to be understanding. But for me, in my position and where I sit now, a lifelong resident of this city, having been a young person and now here in this seat holding an AARP card, nobody say nothing.
You're just less young, not old, just less young.
Just less young. But I do believe that education is an extreme part of what we need, a priority that we need. One of the most important things is that we become lifelong learners. Education never stops. Paul writes in Scripture, since I'm the preacher on the panel, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, and I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. That was not to say that the perspective of youth are not important, because the truth of the matter is that it's the most important perspective at this particular stage, because one day they will be us. So education, understanding is paramount in where we go from here.
Absolutely. And going back to a chief that talked about his procedural justice program with 4 tenets, and the second, I believe, being respect, earn it, show it, right? How can community members get involved to support sustained community reform?
Well, first of all, what community can do is get more involved. People always say, how do I get more involved? Well, involvement requires sacrifice. Involvement requires understanding that the world doesn't revolve just around me. You talked about community. I take care of my house and I take care of my family. It's a priority to me. I have to understand that part of the bigger family is my community. We as a people, and I'm talking about people, period. We're not quick to get involved. We don't vote. We don't make ourselves available for the meetings, whether it be at City Hall, whether it be a school board meeting. We don't make ourselves available. And I think that it's important, if we're going to get involved, to actually get involved. Get to know who your community leaders are. Leaders of your municipalities are, your mayor, your city councilman, your county executive, your county representatives, your state senators. Get to know who they are, and do this. Make sure they know who you are.
Absolutely. So make the sacrifice, get involved, and be known, and really educate yourself, as Pastor Williams said, so you can know your platform, your local municipalities like your councilmen and your wards, because that is the way to make your voice heard and to make sure that your platform is part of the trajectory of where our city can go. And so I'm going to kick it over to Quadir. What do you think are some ways that youth can get involved in supporting community reform?
We could all come together more, learn each other, speak about how we could help each other. It doesn't have to be like every day you come outside, speak to your neighbor, but you have time to sit down, watch Netflix. You could go outside and see how everybody's doing, see if you can help them in any way, and just see like if they're okay. Like even if you can't help them, just talk to them and see if you could just understand. Some people just want to be understood. You might not be able to help, but just letting them vent to you could help somebody.
Absolutely. And so having the youth be more neighborly, maybe a little less technology and social media, and go old school and do the old school FaceTime, which is face-to-face conversation. How are you doing? Right? I want to kick it over to Chief. How do you think our community members can get involved with helping sustain community reform?
I really feel that people have to become more involved to know what's going on in their community. I wish it wouldn't take something horrific to create these conversations and to get these forums going. These are things that we should be doing on a regular basis and know what's going on in the community. So I feel if we work on those small things every day and like focus on them, it reduces those grand events, those big catastrophic events. But I think we can do that by becoming more involved. These might be things that we need to bring back into the schools in some form to have some type of educational program for our youth to know what goes on in our communities, to understand, how the community is governed financially, who makes the laws and the rules, who's accountable to who. I think they're very important roles that we really need for everybody to know.
Thank you, Chief. And, what was resonating with me from what you said is the reform taking place with the blending, right? So to hit on what Pastor Williams says, lifelong learning, committing to always growing and educating yourself, that when your K-12 journey ends, it doesn't stop there, right? But connected to your specific role, having community blend into school and school blend into community, that the education about the holistic child or the holistic experience doesn't just stop when the bell rings and you're dismissed from school. But it definitely still rings true. We have to educate ourselves and learn how to communicate better. And so the theme of this series is ... because it matters 24/7. And as a closing remark, if you could just fill in this blank with any word of your choice in regards to our conversation today. ... because it matters 24/7. And so I'll kick us off to give some think time. I'll say communication, because it matters 24/7. I'll throw it to Fox.
Mine is going to be, I'm going back, I'm big on respect, and I can't say it and not live by it. I respect everybody. I respect your, opinion. I respect your religion, your race, but respect, because it matters 24/7.
Thank you. Chief, ... because it matters 24/7. What's your word?
I hate to follow Fox because I feel the same. I think respect is the key. I think it leads to so many other items of trust, understanding, communication. But I think it starts with that respect. And as I mentioned before, it goes both ways. And I can't say enough, and I'll say the same thing, respect, because it does matter 24/7. And it goes so much farther. We could agree to disagree in a very respectful way, and we can learn from each other in that manner. But if we don't have that respect to listen to each other, we're gonna be at a stalemate, and I just don't see us moving forward without respecting one another. So ... respect 24/7.
Thank you. Respect squared. All right, we got 2 for respect. I'm gonna kick it to Dej.
For me, I'm going back to communication because it matters 24/7. Because I feel like, like personally for me, not throwing any shade to you guys, that's the respect, but I feel like in order to have respect for each other, you have to communicate first. Communication.
All right, Quadir, no pressure to break a tie. You can put a unique word into the fold, ... because it matters 24/7. What's your choice word?
I'm gonna go with leadership. You need a leader to like guide the path. Right now, we're being leaders. I'm pretty sure on YouTube, people are gonna see what we're doing right now. They're gonna like probably get around with their group and try to think about like what they could do for the community. So people always need leaders to guide the path, show you how to do it, or show you how it should be done. So I'll go with leadership.
And you're well on your way to model that word for community. He's like, oh yeah, I know this. MBK, all that, all day. And lastly, Pastor Williams, bring us home, ... because it matters.
My word is simply love. Love because it matters. If we can learn to love each other. So again, since I'm the preacher in the room, the teachings of Jesus, at the end of the day, he says this, by this will all men know that you are my disciples, that you have love one to the other. He says that you love the Lord your God with everything that's in you. He says, and then that you love your neighbor as you love yourself. Thank you.
Kind of like scripture, bringing it all together. I heard neighbor, I heard love, I heard connections. And so again, the goal of Because It Matters 24/7 is not for us to, through conversation, solve any problem, but to spark and provoke other conversations, for people to see this, to be inspired to bring different members of the community together to discuss key topics. And so I thank you, because today we started what will be a long but meaningful journey to confront issues and not people, to model for all of our constituents what it is to have a respectful discussion. So I thank you for your time. I know that this is an important conversation to spark, because we are on the verge of not just challenging times, but having to change for our betterment. So thank you. And with that, community reform, because it matters 24/7.